Okay, so it's about 12:15 here, West Coast time. I'm going to do a video tutorial for Helena Beat by Foster the People. Oh my gosh, I guess it is getting late for me. Anyway, yeah, so it's got some interesting chords in it. It's actually a pretty fun song to play. Acoustically, played a little differently than they do on the album. Basically what happens is everything is modified upper fret. You put a capo on it when you're playing along with the original recording. Excuse me. So anyway, let's do a rundown of the chords here. If you look at my fingers right here, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my ring finger, my third finger, and my pinky right here, and I'm placing them both on the 7th fret. My ring finger goes on the low E string, my pinky, my fourth finger goes on the A string. And then my first finger goes on the 5th fret of the D string. And what this is a fine little, a fine little G6 chord. And has a really nice resonant sound. It sounds quite lovely, actually. Okay, so the next chord is you take this position and then you go up 2 frets. So then this finger, your ring finger would be on the 9th fret, your pinky would be on the 9th fret of the A string, and then your ring finger stays on the low E string. Then your first finger would be up at the 7th fret, excuse me, of the D string. So that makes an A9 chord. It's kind of a dissonant sounding chord, but it sounds really nice after the G6. One thing that I noticed when playing this is that if you slide up, you can get a whole bunch of squeak if you hold it. So if you kind of relax, see, you're still getting the squeak. So you kind of have to lift unless you don't mind hearing the squeak in your when you're playing it. So anyway, so the first 2 chords are your G6, your A9, and then what it does is it slides all the way down here where these 2 fingers are staying again on the low E and, excuse me, A strings. And then what you're going to do is you're going to play... Well, I had a really hard time figuring this one out. What I came up with was an E minor 11 with missing the 5th, but really it sounds tonally, according to the rest of the song, like it's kind of a D chord, like a D over A, or a D in the 2nd inversion, because you have your A note rooted here, and the A is part of the... And so it'd be like a D suspended 4 with a extra 2 in there in the 2nd inversion. Anyway, it's not so important. So, but the sound of it is very important. It's a very rich sounding chord. So what you do is these 2 fingers are still here on the A and low E strings. In the 5th fret, your middle finger right here, your 2nd finger, goes on the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, so you have this going right there. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. And then your first finger, which mine seems to want to go somewhere, goes on the 3rd fret of the B string. So if you look at the whole thing like that, just like that right there. Okay, pull it back, and then I just call it, a D chord, even though it's technically probably not right. Then you take this whole position, and then you slide it down 2 frets to where this is on the third fret, and you're playing just a regular, well, it's a C chord with an extra G here in the bass, and so you're playing it in like your 2nd inversion, meaning that the 5th note of the chord is in the bass, the lowest sound. And then you would go back up to this D chord or E minor 11, whichever you prefer, and then you would go up here, and then all you do is you take these 3 fingers right here, right there, and then you move them up a string, or tonally up, not physically. Physically, it's down a string. So you would take all these 3, and then you go wham right there. So this guy, your 3rd finger is now on the A string, your pinky is now on the D string, and then your 2nd finger, your middle finger, is now on the G string. Then so you go, and then you go back to this D chord, and then the whole thing starts again. So the chord progression, or the actual playing, it goes. And watching him live play it, he does a few different variations on the strum pattern and kind of how long he holds things. He definitely keeps it more consistent when he's singing than when he's just kind of jamming around. It's actually quite pretty. So what I came up with for a strum pattern is, so it's down, down, up, down, and then you go up to the A9. So and then you go down to this D chord. So down, down, up, and then you go to the C, and then he does various things on when he goes to the oh, I forget what the chord this is. When he goes to the F sharp 7 here. A few things that he'll kind of syncopate it and go like, or sometimes he'll hit right on the beat, so. Okay, so I was wrong on the A9. He goes. So it's down, down, up, switch, down, up, and then back to your D chord. So then down, down, up, and then up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So that's basically it. If you have any other questions or need me to do anything for it, for the chord or for the strum pattern, just let me know. Acoustically, there's this kind of funky bridge before he goes, and then once he starts doing the higher kind of falsetto vocally stuff, he just goes back into that chord progression and that strum pattern, and that's most of the song. So during this bridge part, it's just back and forth between this G6 and then this funky D chord. Or, yeah, so. So it's going to be basic, something like. So it's like down, 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 so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. So there are a couple ways to do this. You could actually just kind of, when you're sliding quickly, because it's a focus really on the lowest strings right here. So it's really a focus on these 4 strings. You could actually just slide from this G6 down to here, and then lift your middle finger up and just kind of let it hang, or not your middle, your first finger up, and then just let it hang out. And then just play this. And then slide back up, lift up your middle finger, and replace it with your first finger on the 5th fret. So, but on the way as you're sliding, you would go. So, but if you're feeling up to it, you can do it all. Play the full effect of this chord right here. Yeah, so it's really up to you. And there are numerous versions of him playing it acoustically, or the entire band playing it acoustically, or parts of the band playing it acoustically to play along with. Okay, that's it. Hope this helps.